See if you can hear me. Okay. Make sure everything is working. I'll be back in my normal spot soon. Okay. Very good. All right. So much going on. Thank you so much, everyone. We're always burning the midnight oil. It can't be helped because we've been doing this for 5 years, and there's breaking news every day. There's breaking news every day, and I was even asked about the Conal Whetten, the FBI. He's not just any FBI agent in El Paso. He is also liaison to Juarez, and he is the assistant agent in charge there in El Paso. So he's a big deal. He's a very big deal. And I was asked about him on one of the comments, are we sure? Are we sure? Because we're putting ourselves out there against a man that, you know, uh, gives all the appearance of being a good person, gives all the appearance of being a good person, and might even contribute a little bit here and there to being a good person. But he's a real dud, y'all. He's a big dud. He's up to no good. He's absolutely up to no good, and has done um, unbelievable harm. Unbelievable harm. And this is where all of the psyop becomes so powerful, because most of us, day in and day out, in our working days, and being friendly with our neighbors, um, hi, how are you? Wanting to be a good neighbor. We can't even imagine that someone that lives that close to us, that somebody that's entrusted with the power that an assistant FBI agent has, would be up uh, s- to such bad crimes, and participate in such bad crimes, and still be able to give the appearance of goodness, and good neighborly um, presence, right? Someone that's up to no good, the darkest of the dark kind of crimes, that they would be able to still present themselves as being a decent person. That's the psyop. That's what we've had to really live with for 5 years. So many, so many. And so here we are at 1,000. Let's see, make sure that I've got this right. 1,862 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room and his life was taken. And this was after he was targeted continuously and severely. And after his life was taken, um, it didn't end there. They brutalized him. They they tortured him while he was alive. They brutally took his life, and they were brutal with his remains. And that's why we have not been able to get his remains, even though his remains were found, even though we have 3 autopsy reports, even though we have countless officials. Um, so we have multiple officials that absolutely, um, uh, verified that they found Richard, and that partial remains, at least partial remains, were in Juarez, partial remains in the United States. And now we're coming in closer and closer with this Plenitude crematorium where we believe that part of Richard ended up. Um, we're understanding uh, the depth of their evil in trafficking human remains for profit, especially during the lockdown, right? During the lockdown, where people couldn't go to funerals, people couldn't go and view the death of their loved one. They couldn't visit their loved one in the hospital. And it was very brutal in El Paso because of the nature of the government there that were so insane, and they didn't like us too much because we didn't go along with the lockdown. We didn't go along with the lockdown and the mandates. We didn't break any laws, but we absolutely went over to Juarez dozens of times. I did not buy any of those face things, even though an FBI agent got into my face and told me that I needed to wear them, but I needed to remember to breathe. I was like, okay, this is insane. No, I didn't go along with that because none of it made sense. None of it was reality. It was all to me, um, an orchestration or scam, a worldwide scam to prevent, uh, I believe, I believe, exposing the humongous criminal trafficking at the epicenter of it all, El Paso, Texas, and Fort Bliss. That they would go to such lengths for this. I believe that. I believe evidence confirms that what we believe is right. It's billions and billions of dollars, so even the numbers confirm that we're right. So this is absolutely international, and time has absolutely told the story. I think that's why you have a lot of questions coming up with those Cobra strikes. I used to call them Cobra strikes, that, I never recommended at all, never recommended because, it's everyone's choice, right? But I never recommended them. During that whole thing, I just recommended, extra vitamins and good sunshine. They wanted to prevent us from going out into the sun. They didn't want anyone to see anything. They didn't want us to get together and talk about anything because so much was being revealed during that time, and they had to hide it. They had to hide it from the public because the public, if they knew the level of evil that was going on, they would demand accountability because we are a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense because I want to talk about El Paso being the epicenter. And it makes sense with yesterday when I talked about George Alhana being the honey trap for Yvonne Rosales, and why Yvonne Rosales was such an upset, and that there had to be a trap for her. There had to be a trap for Yvonne Rosales because she was actually a duly elected district attorney. And guess what? She still is. she still is the legitimate district attorney for the 34th Judicial District. She's still it. She's still it. Um, and, people, and she knows it. And so people, when I say something like that, they go, well, where is she? Why hasn't she asserted herself? And it was brutal. She was absolutely attacked, and she was attacked in her heart as well, in her heart as well, and in her shame, because George Alhana, who is a married man, um, and with well, time, the evidence confirms, it's not me. The evidence confirms that he's up to no good, that he didn't have a love for her, a care for her career, a care for what she had accomplished, a care for the district attorney's office, a care for the people that they were supposed to serve. That was not his concern. That was not his care at all. And time has absolutely revealed that. The evidence has created evidence. Time creates evidence, evidence that confirms that he didn't care, because the Walmart mass shooting and everything that we have revealed with it, with the Mayellas, absolutely he knows the Mayellas. I mean, you have Michael Mayella as the uh, putting together his daughter's wedding while he is overseeing his new son-in-law's brother's case, Patrick Crucius, right? In the federal courthouse. These people all know each other. It was nothing that was hidden from that inner group. They knew who Michael Mayella Sr. was, and they absolutely knew who Michael Mayella Jr., because Mayella Jr. worked under Jaime Esparza in the DA's office that Yvonne Rosales replaced. Okay, and with Montoya, Mr. 2028 stamp. They all know each other, and they knew it was no secret in that group. Now, to the public, it was hidden, but in that group, they knew that Patrick Crucius absolutely had major connections in El Paso. He had a family in El Paso, and George Alhana, all the evidence points that uh, he was a honey trap to destroy Yvonne Rosales, okay? To control her, to divert her attention, um, and to grab her heart, right? Maybe say all kinds of sweet nothings in her ear, give her all kinds of promises, fill some of her lonely needs, fill some of her whatever needs, and really cause chaos and compromise in the district attorney's office, to her shame. To her shame, because even in her shame, she was looking into the fraudulent distribution of the Walmart mass shooting victims' funds. Um, and that got compromised, right? That got compromised, and that was over $12 million that was supposed to go to victims. Okay, and that went to unqualified individuals. A lot of money went to unqualified individuals, and of course she wanted to set a hearing for a trial date for the Walmart mass shooting. She wanted to actually prosecute in a trial the Walmart mass shooting. And of course, that was compromised. That was compromised, and that was stopped. And she was viciously attacked and unlawfully attacked, um, to bring her down, And it was George Alhana that, and this is evidence confirms what I'm about to say. It was George Alhana that convinced her to give in her, um, uh, to sign over her, oh, give up the resignation, to sign the resignation, which was under duress. Okay. The signed resignation was under duress. And that is because, not because I say it, because evidence confirms it. Evidence confirms that it was George Alhana that convinced her to do the resignation with Roman, her attorney, who's now no longer with us, right? Um, and then, but really, George Alhana had her strings, her heartstrings, and he pulled them, and he sabotaged her. He sabotaged her career forever. She'll never be the same, and she was never able to fight back because of the affair that she was having with George Alhana. And he's married, right? And also because there's some illegal problems there, because she made him the assistant district attorney and in that office. And George Alhana is really, when you look at the record compared to other people that were qualified for that position, he's pretty feeble. That's the word that I used yesterday. He's pretty feeble. His record is pretty feeble, and you would never choose him, just like you would never choose Bill Hicks. They're the bottom of the barrel, you know. So, that was a big mistake from her, and that compromised her so bad that now you understand. The reason why I'm telling you is because she is the district attorney right now, the legal district attorney. And it has really. We're at over 5 years because she was compromised, because she could not fight back, because she was honey trapped, because in her shame and what she did, she really now, even at the best time, cannot recover her career and what she accomplished and winning the votes of hundreds of thousands of people to become the district attorney, which is a huge accomplishment for the 34th Judicial District, which is the front door of the United States. A very important role, and she accomplished that, and she can't fight back now. And now people understand why. People understand why, um, and when you love someone, you don't do that to somebody, right? And so that was never his intention. That's why I can call it a honey trap. And and it wasn't what he did to her. It was also what he did to the Walmart case, what he did to the Walmart Victims Funds case, what he did to our son, really a national hero, murdered in the line of duty, a whistleblower. He knew that Richard was a whistleblower. Um, and, that's everyone that's in that business there knows that Richard was a whistleblower way before we knew he was a whistleblower, and they covered it up. And they also covered up the whole Mayella family connections with Patrick Crucius, which just blew that case open, right? I mean, it just blows that case apart, the whole fake narrative. And then you say, oh, wow, then what else are they lying about, right? They're lying about everything. And so, that's not love for El Paso. That's not love for Yvonne Rosales. George Alhana is a real dud, too. He's a real dud. He's up to no good. And, he's right there with Conal Whetten, right? He's right there. And which allowed hundreds of thousands of children to suffer, being trafficked. And now look at the reports coming out that they were they were absolutely brutalized and the worst type of crimes against them. And if they survived it, which a lot didn't, um, they were then really living in a hellscape, right? In a hellscape, um, whole hellscape. And this absolutely was because of what George Alhana did and what Conal Whetten did, and even uh, what they did to us, to us, and so many other victims, and so many other cases, and so many other victims' families. Um, so this is very, very serious, and evidence confirms that El Paso is the epicenter. Okay. Um, so when you hear in the congressionals about the children, hundreds of thousands of them, when you hear about General Kelly, when you hear about, you know, any of this criminal trafficking, the hub, okay, and there's, Memphis, Tennessee is a pretty big hub because of FedEx. Okay, that's the FedEx hub. So if you wonder why Memphis, Tennessee, has such problems and is so corrupt, you can understand. So, and there are different hubs in the United States that are part of this criminal trafficking, especially in California, because of the shipping, right? The shipping. Um, but there's no place in the United States that compares to all of the required uh, net infrastructure network in order to criminal traffic at this degree, where you're in just a few years, hundreds of thousands of children that are then not accountable, right? That you don't know where they went to, whatever, that they have erased the records, tampered with the records, and then all of a sudden you have hundreds of thousands, not 10, not 100, not 1,000. We're talking about hundreds of thousands. Um, like one record in the um, article was 233,000 in just like a 2-year period, where they don't know where they went to. They don't know where they went to. And now, they're searching and trying to find what happened to these children. It's really, I just, I call it a hellscape, because they find the children not alive. They find the children that have suffered in many, many ways the worst type of crimes against them. And so if you look at El Paso, it has the rail, it has the air, it has the border, it has the tunnels, it has Fort Bliss. It has Fort Bliss. It has the fuel on Fort Bliss. It has the vehicles on Fort Bliss. It has the federal cover of Fort Bliss. Fort Bliss with the intake center, where you have the legal cover, right? The jurisdictional cover that makes it very, very difficult for oversight, for local oversight, to get on Fort Bliss, right? So you have the intake center. You have um, uh, these the generals making huge amounts of money because they can do these contracts with, out of Washington for, oh gosh, so much money. They can make so much money. So these generals are very easily compromised. They have no, the Senate Arms Committee has promoted the worst type of generals because they're so easily compromised. You just wave something in front of their face and they're just willing to throw our country and their oath and their and the Constitution, away. They're just willing to do that. And this is not me saying it. This is evidence confirms this. Evidence confirms it. And I've been saying for years that we've had evidence that confirms that our generals, during that period, were, and, we're in 9 months, 11 months, I don't know, to this whole 9 months, I guess, into this presidency. And there's a lot of still mutiny going on. There's a lot of blocked changes going on. They're blocking in every which way. A lot of blocked appointments. Appointments are being blocked. So the writing is not yet out on the wall, right? But for the past, it is definitely. I can tell you that there's plenty of evidence that shows you that by 2016, El Paso, Fort Bliss was known to be the uh, the the trafficking in every which way capital. I, can I say of the world? Of course, of the United States, it's the front door. And do I want to say the world? Well, the resources from Fort Bliss. I don't think any other country has the resources that Fort Bliss has, the monies that the Pentagon gave to underwrite this criminal trafficking, right? I mean, really, it was all paid for by taxpayers' money, and then they just profited. They didn't have any overhead, right? They didn't have any overhead. They just used our military, all of our resources, and El Paso, and the taxpayers there in El Paso, and the transportation and the border and the police and all of that, just like what they did in Juarez, where you have a whole police department that are working for the cartel. You have an FBI office there, the Conal Whetten and Jesus Eddie and Nieto, whose wife is intelligence on Fort Bliss, okay? Up to no good, up to no good. Um, the media, and this is all. How can this be that such a network can be built in such an important area using a military installation, and then to used weaponized, you can say weaponized or used to carry out the worst type of crimes in criminal trafficking, with child trafficking, and then of course dead body trafficking. It's like uh, the depth of their evil just keeps on getting lower and lower and lower, right? So how can that be? And so there's been a common denominator, and I don't want to make this to be about a faith. It's not about a faith. This is not about faith at all. This is about weaponizing a membership into a network. That's what this is. This is, matter of fact, I even kind of wrote it down. Let me see. I wanted to absolutely write this down. Um, yeah. Uh, this is about a network faction, a faction um, of the Mormons, okay, of the Mormons. And so this sounds like it's about a faith, it's about a religion. No, it's about a network that has fractured off of the Mormons. They are Mormons, and it's a faction of them that are in El Paso, and they have formed a network. And it's a big one, y'all. It's so big because, you know, Woody Hunt is the main guy there, right? Woody Hunt is the main guy. He's a billionaire. He's a billionaire. And if you look at his financials, it's like, wowzer, you can see what he has done. Clearly, he has clearly targeted um, the the elements or the infrastructure needed to carry out these terrible crimes. Okay, and his inside man in the FBI was Conal Whetten. Conal Whetten. Okay, I hope I say that name right. And it's not me saying that. That's evidence confirms it. You follow the money. You follow the contracts. You follow what has not been done. Clearly, when the evidence is out there. Clearly, the evidence is that not one judge on the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court is legitimate. Clearly, there's not a DA in the 34th Judicial District Attorney that has been uh, legitimate since Yvonne Rosales uh, signed her resignation. She is still the holdover um, district attorney because there has not been a legitimate one. If a billionaire wants a beautiful city that is running lawfully, he can make it happen. He can make it happen. But what Woody Hunt has done is chose to break El Paso, to break the judicial system, to break it because of his power over politicians. You saw what he did, or maybe you didn't, but you can go look what he has done to Tony Gonzalez. He totally broke Tony Gonzalez. He totally compromised Tony Gonzalez. Tony Gonzalez cannot be trusted. He's shallow. He's a dud. Tony Gonzalez is a real dud. And the same thing that happened to Tony Gonzalez happened to Conal Whetten. And Conal Whetten, weaponized, or he favored this group, this network, this Mormon faction network, and Leilani is part of that. Leilani Hart is part of that. Um, and the Hart family is part of that. Danae Katzen is part of that. Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia is part of that. Felix Valenzuela is part of that. And you can go on and on with this whole group, and their connections with this faction. And this faction made El Paso um, uh, even more. Let's say it gave the cartel criminals doing the dirty work, right? Doing the dirty work of the criminal trafficking. They were so used and abused, weren't they? They were so, these cartel operatives, they're just used and abused, doing the dirty work, doing the worst dirty work. Maybe they got a few $1,000s, here and there. Maybe they got $10,000. Maybe they got some of that Walmart mass shooting victims fund money. But they were just, um, it was a Faustian deal, right? They had to do the dirty work, the very dirty work for those that could orchestrate it and could, you know, uh, seem to have give all the appearance that they were uh, giving El Paso Community Foundation, giving the community something back while they were absolutely gutting it. gutting it, not only gutting it, but leaving the excrement behind. Um, and the hellscape. And it's just, how can you gut a city like that? And and I can say, because I remember El Paso differently. I know that things were happening back then too, but what has happened in the schools and everything, it's just the shaking when we were there. People are so afraid, and and no one doubts the evidence that uh, who runs El Paso, who runs Beto O'Rourke, who runs Veronica Escobar, who runs the politics, all the way into Austin, right? All the way up to Washington, D.C. A very, very powerful Woody Hunt. Um, so if he wanted to help us, and of course we reached out to the Mormons, we reached out to them when we discovered this years ago. If they wanted to help us, they could. They absolutely could. They could have had Leilani arrested. They could have absolutely kicked her out. Um, but they didn't. They protected her because they're protecting not just her, but they're protecting what's going on, what's really going on, the weaponization of this faction. Um, in collusion with the criminal trafficking of hundreds of thousands of children, of substances, of weapons, of fuel, of ammunition, of explosives, of anything that's not bolted down. They just gutted uh, Fort Bliss. They gutted a lot of hearts and minds of the soldiers by compromising them, by controlling what came into the base to compromise them. They broke security. They breached the security in order to entrap and compromise our soldiers so that those coming in, like Richard, would not become whistleblowers, that they would, have something uh, that would be like, that they were ashamed of, that they could not then become a whistleblower. That's why Richard is such an anomaly. He's such an anomaly because his record is sparkling clean. And they could not compromise him, and we're just overwhelmed by that knowledge that Richard is such a hero. We're just um, I just don't know the words to describe it. Um, because he lost his life in it. He had to pay the ultimate price for not being compromised. And others did too, not just Richard. So, um, but this was by the hand of Woody Hunt. Okay, there's no doubt in my mind that he could have helped, that he could have been involved. He's involved in everything. And he's the largest owner of military housing. He keeps away from that with Fort Bliss because it would be such a conflict of interest. But he absolutely uh, controls Fort Bliss and what's going on there because he allowed this trafficking to go on. And his inside man was Conal Whetten. And Leilani Hart is a big player in it because she was getting her mail at Dreams Cabaret. Dreams Cabaret is a big hub for all of this. Okay, and that is not me saying it. That's because I've had that information for a long time. It's just that the new information coming in because of Richards in the line of duty designation because of the letters that President Trump has sent. You have many that are now uh, uh, compelled. They're compelled by President Trump, or they are feel confident that Richard is what we say he is. And so information is coming in, and that information absolutely confirms what we're saying. And we can say that Dreams Cabaret is a main hub for all of this. It needs to absolutely be investigated, and it really connects so much. And I think that State Trooper Patrick Brookshire absolutely confirmed all that. You know, that was huge evidence what he did, and revealing that his wife is a Maya Maya Fong family. Sorry, it's after 1 o'clock in the morning. Um, but the Fong family owns Dreams Cabaret, and here he is trying to spread what just has been ultimately debunked about our son, and to attack us and to threaten us, really threaten and witness tamper and everything like that. I mean, here he is. He risked his whole $98,000 a year career to do this dirty work, and which is so illegal. But he revealed a lot of evidence. And, so when you see all of this coming together, and we have more, we have such more breaking news on the precipice, right? On the precipice. We're just trying to make sure we have all of our information straight before we release it to you. Um, but it is, breaking news every day. And El Paso, if there's any doubt in your mind that El Paso, it's just not that bad and it can't be the epicenter for criminal trafficking, I want to tell you to rethink that. Rethink that. Look at the evidence, because the evidence is overwhelming that the city being right there, where right next to cartel control, that the cartel has infiltrated right there, where there's tunnels, where there's planes and trains and um, all kinds of access to fuel and weapons and ammunition, and just it goes on and on. All the sources that are right there, the Texas Department of Public Transportation, the FedEx freight hub that connects to Memphis, right? Memphis, Tennessee. Now you understand this whole Tennessee connection, right? Because there's evidence in our son's case that connects with Tennessee. And so that's once it becomes very clear, we reveal all of this to you. And all of this evidence is even better known to the intelligence community, who, of course, gave enough, overwhelmed, way more than enough, to President Trump to say, wow, wow, Richard Halliday deserves the respect of the entire nation. He needs to be honored by the entire nation. He is a hero. He absolutely gave loyalty. He could not be compromised. He could not be corrupted. He absolutely kept himself um, uh, a U.S. Army soldier with esprit de corps to be proud of, and and for our country. He did his duty. He did his duty. And for that, that is just, it sounds so simple, right? You just do your duty. But Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe didn't. CID Marlon Soto didn't. CID disgusted or disgraced, lost his badge, Tavita Nusa didn't. Major Solomone Nusa didn't. Um, and of course, the ongoing general, General Taylor, he hasn't. General Eisenhower, he didn't. Major General Eisenhower. Mealy, General Mealy didn't do his duty. Um, uh, General Garrett didn't do his duty. General Kelly didn't do his duty. I mean, these are all traitors, absolute traitors. But, so it sounds so simple, just do your duty. And that's what Richard did. He just did his duty, and it was just so magnificent, something to be honored. And his name will be honored forever and ever. It's indelible. President Trump says his name is indelible. What he has done is indelible and will never be forgotten. That's what he said. And wow, right? You can get just totally speechless in that. And I'm just so fortunate to be his mother. I'm so fortunate. Um, yeah, and what do you say? I want him to be alive, but I want him to do his duty, right? And his name will is indelible and will never be forgotten. So that's really emotional, really emotional, especially at 1:30, and not being able to be emotional, right? We can't be emotional. We can't get angry. We're not allowed to cry. We have to give the people of this country, and even everybody that it affects internationally, the news. And the news is that this is a Mormon faction that weaponized their connections, their access. The two temples are in across the border in Mexico, right there in Juarez. They have two temples right there in Juarez. They even have one in Tijuana. And so, what that does is give access to cross the border, because for religious purposes, you can get an access card. And Marlon Soto told me that, and that even during the shutdown, they could not deny them those access cards to cross over the border and go to the temple. So they went, that gives them access to cross the border with these passes, and they weaponized all of that. They misused all of that. They really have shamed the Mormon community. They've really shamed the Mormon community at the highest level. I mean, Woody Hunt is a billionaire. He has a very high position in the Mormon community, and so does Conal Whetten, and he's just they totally shamed it. They're duds. They're total duds, and worse, they committed the worst type of crimes that are treasonous, that are treachery, that are equal to crimes that deserve the death penalty to be on the table. And, that is really a huge news coming today. And, um, and Richard died because uh, way before, even by 2016, uh, that was already known going on. This has been going on a long time. And Woody Hunt is not a young man. He could have made El Paso so fantastic, right? It's so fantastic. He could have unleashed the water. He could have um, made that like a Garden of Eden, a Garden of Eden. And, but he's up to no good. And so, and he hurt so many people, destroyed so many people. So, I have a lot of comments here. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on. Thank you for your prayers and your love all the time. Your long suffering with us. Your long suffering. Laura Rodriguez, thank you so much. So why won't they let Donald Trump return those kids to their home so they can blame him later on for those atrocities? Um, a lot of those children are no longer alive. And that's, there's so much mutiny going on because of it's kind that's why I wanted to talk about Yvonne Rosales, because Yvonne Rosales is not alone in her situation. Look at Jose Sanchez, the regional director for DPS, for the Department of Public Safety, is being honey trapped in front of our faces in a parking lot, right? In a parking lot, hold on. Um, by this woman that has a fleet of vehicles with, I would say, almost half of them with DV plates. I mean, Lamborghini, an Audi A8. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars right there. Yes. Imagine the UPS. Lalani Hart worked for UPS. She worked for UPS. She worked for USPS. That's not a mistake. She was getting her mail at Dreams Cabaret. That's not a mistake. This is absolutely a system. This is a network. And her network is this Mormon faction. Okay? Is this Mormon faction. Um, Thank you so much for the big hug. May God bless you and keep you. Thank you so much and give us strength that He has. He has totally given us strength to go through this. It's been hell. It's a hellscape, right? And we entered into it. And but everywhere God gives a little light. He shines a little light. Just finding out who Nadal Baim was. That was happened in October of 2020. Just Nadal Baim is a linchpin in all of this, okay? He is so important in all of this. And they lied to our face. They lied to our face, which is evidence that Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, really, because of his duty that he broke, he is responsible for the death of our son because he covered up. He lied to our face about Nadal Baim, and he knew who Nadal Baim was because he's the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, who has his family connections are huge, huge. And they lied to our face about that. And Nadal Baim himself is a Palestinian arms dealer with his wife being related to Manny Chavira, being related to Gustavo Sanchez of the DPS. So the chief of police of El Paso ISD, so this is, he is so big. He's so big. And the news doesn't want to cover the Mayellas being the family of Patrick Crucius. The news doesn't want to cover that Nadal Baim is cartel, right? And that the commanding general covered up for cartel, and the cartel being not little cartel, but involved in property real estate. I mean, it's so big. It's so big. And and I um yeah. Oh, yeah. So fantastically terroristic, insanely. Yes. Just imagine all the people in jail for no reason. Oh, yeah. They used uh, these people in jail, these people that um, uh, it's uh, it's a bombshell that that's another reason why we come on every night and we ask everyone to share this, because with these illegitimate DAs, with these illegitimate judges, these cases are botched. And if that's why this whole Max Grossman, he was just arrested. Um, what we told him is going to be pivotal for his defense. Because if he was a setup, right? If he was set up, wrongly accused, maybe he were, but you know, so many people, they were going after the whistleblowers. They were going after those that were trying to reveal or going against this criminal trafficking. And, if they were wrongly accused, well, and I believe Patrick Crucius um, is not the only one responsible for the Walmart mass shooting. The and not because I believe it, because the evidence has confirmed it to us that there are multiple shooters and that there are shooters at large. There are shooters, professional shooters, that did this at large. And, that's clear. Who killed Maria Eugenia? Who killed Memo Garcia? Who killed Alexander Gerard Hoffman? Really? Who shot Ernest Christopher Grant? He survived, but he's up to no good. And clearly, the video clearly shows that he's a liar and that in no way did Patrick Crucius at the doorway coming in shoot him. I mean, it's clear. Where are the ballistic? Where is the forensics report? We are, 7 years, right? Or how long are we? Way over 6 years. Where's our forensics report? Where are the calibers? Where is the brown tip bullets we're hearing about? So clearly there there has been so many cases and so many victims have been wrongly accused, um, or those that really did the dirty deed have not been held accountable, maybe paid off. Maybe it's those that, during that whole time bought all those different cars, the Lamborghini, right? The you know, so and then we have the ongoing evidence of this green charger, right? Uh, wow. It just they did a cover up, and it's as time goes on, it's been revealed, and we feel like we need to reveal that because the innocent people need to have a chance to know that they have an opportunity now. And I think Max Grossman is a really good case for everyone to be watching, because everything that we have been talking about these 5 years, he's going to depend on for his freedom, for his, um, yeah, for because his whole career is on the line now. His whole career is online for because of this arrest. Um, and we'll see what happens. So, I can't hear. I already reset my phone. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to say goodnight. We will be back tomorrow. And we just want to tell everyone we appreciate coming on so late. God bless you. Have a wonderful Sunday. And we'll be back tomorrow.